episode is one that we recorded about a year ago that was an Instagram Live during Pride Week. And as we were looking back, we realized we never actually put it up on the podcast. And it deserves a place here because this conversation with Rabbi Megan and Paige GoldMarche is really it was really just such a beautiful conversation on the realities of trying to build a family when you're in the LGBTQ community. Like it, wasn't super easy. It wasn't super hard. There weren't years and years and years of horribleness, but it wasn't also like we found a sperm donor, we got pregnant in 5 seconds. There were challenges along the way, and they go through their beautiful relationship, how they met and all of that, but they also just go through the realities of what it means when you're trying to build a family with two individuals of the same sex, and how does that work? And then it's every piece of this conversation was so great, and to see and hear the two of them and the way they related to each other and the way each one of them remembered one piece of the story or the other piece of the story, it was such just really a wonderful conversation. And I just urge any of you who are thinking about going through this, who are considering building a family, regardless of who your partner is, I think there's just so much to learn here in the way the two of them interact and also the way they approach the process and where they're sitting now on the other side. There's so much to learn and so much to think about. So take a listen. Let me know what you think. Hi, I'm Dr. Amy Barron, the founder and executive director of the nonprofit I Was Supposed to Have a Baby. On this podcast, I invite different people to join me in conversations about infertility, pregnancy loss, infant loss, surrogacy, adoption, and so much more. We laugh, we cry, and we challenge the Jewish community to think differently about a topic that has been shrouded in secrecy and shame for so long. So join me as we talk away the taboo. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Talking Away the Taboo. I am thrilled tonight to be bringing on Rabbi Megan and Paige GoldMarche. They are a really incredible couple who have a beautiful family building journey that I can't wait to share with all of you. I had the pleasure of getting to know them a little while back for some other reasons, and then we reconnected now, and I'm just really excited to be sharing this story with all of you.
Hi.
But for the people who don't know you, which one of you is the rabbi who's being formal and which one is not?
I am the rabbi, but I don't think I'm very formal. It's just, just feeling it in the moment. So it seemed like the right thing to do. Erev Tov, maybe.
Yeah. Well, we'll take it all. We'll take it all. Okay. Rabbi Megan and Paige, first of all, how would you like me to address each of you? I just want to make sure that I'm doing that appropriately to start.
Rabbi Megan and Paige is good, or Megan, either.
I'll mix it up just to make it more interesting. I'd love for each of you to introduce yourselves, tell us about just in general, your background, growing up, etc. Like, just give us like a window into who you are and, like maybe a tiny short bio, just before we launch into your fertility journeys, who you each are as people before we get into who you each are as a family and in your family building journey. So decide who wants to go first.
Me? Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Megan, my last name was Goldman, and then our last names are a combined last name, GoldMarche. So I was Megan Goldman. I grew up outside of Chicago in suburbs, not the Jewish suburbs, which are in the north, but one of the western suburbs, Oak Park. Grew up involved in the Jewish community. I have one brother. He just moved to Philadelphia, which I'm very excited about where we live. My parents are still in the Chicago suburbs. I studied psychology and women's studies before they renamed it gender studies at Penn. I thought I was going to be a clinical psychologist, starting when I was in middle school, and then pivoted to the rabbinate when I was working for Hillel after college. It just really spoke to me and wanting to work with Jewish people in that way. I am the executive director of a nonprofit that does Jewish community building for 20s and 30s in the Philly area called Tribe 12. If you're in the Philly area, come find us, tribe12.org.
Megan, tell us, actually, before we do that, Paige, I'm going to turn it to you. Give us a little bit about you.
Awesome.
Okay, hi, Paige, she, her pronouns. I am originally from Sharon, Massachusetts, where I grew up, also in Providence, Rhode Island, going to day school there for 9 years. So it's kind of my other home. I grew up in the conservative movement, really involved in my shul, in Sharon, and in USY. Everything in my life has been Jewish since, I came out of the womb. My journey is I went to Clark University in Worcester, Mass, where I studied international development and social change. I then was a stem cell donor for Gift of Life Bone Marrow Foundation.
Wow.
And right after that, I went to grad school for my master's in Jewish communal service from Baltimore Hebrew Institute at Towson University is what it's called now. Right after that, when I got home after grad school, I went to some volunteer event, and I was for Gift of Life, and they said, "Hey, do you want a job?" And I said, "Yes." So I got to sit with a lot of folks who were donating their stem cells, their bone marrow. I got to recruit folks to be in the bone marrow registry. It was a really powerful thing to be able to be a donor and to meet recipients and to just encourage donors to do, whatever they could to say yes to donating.
And a piece of our shared story is that my mother is a recipient of a bone marrow transplant. So it's
right
very,
after my
very,
wedding.
yeah, right. Our wedding was moved because of her transplant. She's doing really well. This was 2016, so almost 10 years ago.
Wow.
But yeah, we're about to have our 10-year anniversary.
Yeah,
so
right.
We haven't been on a real vacation, the two of us, since we had children, which we are so blessed to have, because that was obviously our last vacation was in the middle of our fertility journey. We went on a trip where we don't have children, we can go on vacation, but now we have not been on vacation. And
Well, isn't doing this podcast together like a vacation? I mean, come on.
Yeah. Right. We rushed our kids to bed. Yeah.
So Paige, you were doing that, and then, well, maybe now the two of you, I don't know at what point. It sounds like it was around that time. At what point did the two of you meet each other, and also maybe also share what point did the two of you realize that your journey was not like a typical journey, or no, or when did you know that you were queer? Tell us about those.
Those are different questions.
Yeah. Okay, fine. I'm like mixing up pieces, but I'm getting us slowly to the point of this family journey, because oftentimes, I mean, the reason why I'm asking these questions is because oftentimes from the time that people are very young, they have this idea about the way their family is going to look like when they get older. And for people who are in more heterosexual relationships, it's like, oh, I'm going to get married at a certain point, I'm going to have 2.4 kids, and it's going to happen, and, I'm going to meet hopefully the person in college or after or whatever. There's a specific path that people think about. So I'm just curious, for the two of you, what did your paths, what did your dreams look like from the time that you were young?
I was hoping to have children, but it never was a thing. People think of oh, I'm going to have a wedding and I'll wear a white dress and all that. But that was never something I really thought about. It wasn't something I dreamed of, but I was like, maybe I'll have 2 kids someday, because I come from a 2-kid family. Because I have a brother also. But I don't know, when Megan and I met each other, it was kind of it was a no-brainer that we wanted to have kids, and we
not
have
when
kids
we
together.
met each other. When we met each other,
oh well,
she was working for Gift of Life. We met at a Shabbat dinner. I was not out, so that's you're talking about the intersection. It was during that stage that we met. She was working for Gift of Life. She came to visit one of her grad school friends in New York for her birthday. We met at a Shabbat dinner.
And Paige, you were out, and Megan was not.
Yes. Paige had a girlfriend at the time. I again was not out. Both to myself, I think I sort of had an inkling, but I was not out to myself really, or the public world. And then it took we started dating 3 years later.
Yeah, right.
When Paige sent me a message on OkCupid. So, and I was
old school.
Yeah.
So you found her again.
So after Paige was at Gift of Life, she got hurt while she was running a bone marrow drive at Harvard Hillel. She got offered a job at Harvard Hillel.
I said, I really want to work at Hillel. And the director there said, great, we're going to be opening a job soon. And I said, awesome. So as soon as that opened, I applied and I got the job at Harvard Hillel.
Amazing.
And Megan and I
was working at Columbia Barnard Hillel while I was finishing rabbinical school. So we like overlapped. We like saw each other a couple times, like at a conference. Like, so we knew each other. And then we'd met at the Shabbat dinner. We were now both Hillel professionals. And then Paige saw me on OkCupid, and I was living in New York, which meant I would have ignored any stranger. I did ignore many, even once I was dating women, I still ignored non-New York people who messaged me.
Right, because I'm speaking as someone who currently lives in New York. Anyone who lives in New York thinks that the world doesn't exist outside of New York.
Well, it's not that, because I'm from Chicago and I'm very opposed to that. It's more that like the idea of in Brooklyn already seems so complicated from the Upper West Side that like dating someone outside of New York just seemed like there's so many people to date here. Why would I make something more complicated by dating outside? But because we already knew each other, it was a no-brainer that I would reply to the message, and so that was summer 2014. But I had only come out like a year and a half before that.
Okay.
So
and so were you thinking when you were younger, did you have this idea about the way your family would look, or not really? And then how did your process of coming out, like, how did that change for you? Or did it?
Yeah, I mean, I think I definitely, again, was not someone who had like big visions of my wedding, but definitely had an image of like, of course I'm going to be a parent. Like there was just like no question that like that's what you do. And like how many kids. And I definitely, because I was a gender studies person and my mom has a PhD in economics focusing on gender and economics, like had a very strong sense that like as a woman who would be the one getting pregnant, my career was impacted by being the parent who would give birth. And like my brother and I, who now are both married to people of the same, or he's not married yet, he will be soon.
He will be.
But both of us are insignificant. I'm married to someone of the same sex, and his partner is also a man. Like he had this pressure to like be the main income earner and what that meant. And I felt, and he was like, that's so much pressure. Maybe I don't want to have kids. And I was like, I'll marry someone who probably makes as much or more money than me. And so it definitely like impacted how we thought about things, obviously in ways that are not true. I mean, are sort of true. Like he's going to marry someone now, like he'll make way more money because his boyfriend's in law school and we're both two professionals and we have kids and he probably won't have kids. But I don't think I thought about it from but I knew that like I would have to be pregnant probably, and that would impact like my career trajectory, and that I needed to think about that.
Got it. Okay. Okay, so then the two of you met and magic happened. When did you start thinking about having a family?
Our first date.
Our second date. Give us a little bit of credit.
Maybe our third date. I did meet Paige's parents on our third date,
I think. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Why?
We were going back and forth from Boston to New York. So we were taking the train back and forth. We did the bus one time and then said never again.
I did the bus one time.
Yeah, it was awful. And then so we just took the train back and forth, and we tried to do that once a month, every couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And then I'm very, very close to my parents. I lived in the same the city.
She was living with her brother. So
that's true.
I was going to meet him anyways. And she was like, you should probably meet my parents. And
yeah.
And I was like, okay. And I went to my therapist and I was like, this is totally nuts.
And my dad was wearing his Hebrew Harley Davidson shirt. My mom was opened up the New York Times wedding section when they showed.
Oh my god!
For like 3 weeks or something. But then like 2 weeks later, I officiated my first wedding, and I asked, and they let me bring Paige as my date, and it was in Baltimore, so you met my brother that weekend. You didn't meet my parents till Thanksgiving, but
right.
We started dating like mid-July of 2014. So yeah, I mean, I think we started talking about everything, like, and I would say that the big conversation that I remember most distinctly, and it might have been that trip.
I think
it was that trip because I think it was in that apartment. My mom, both my parents lost their mothers when they were 32, when I was 2.5. And my mom was diagnosed with the blood disease that eventually led to her transplant when I was 20, and she was 50. And we knew it was eventually going to morph into something much more serious. And that hadn't happened yet. I mean, it's sort of crazy, the timeline, but like I had this moment where like Paige was the first relationship where I was like, oh, I can actually start planning for the future. And I sort of had this breakdown. I started crying in that kitchen that you only lived in that one
apartment.
trip.
Yeah.
That's why I know it was that place, because it was that first trip. She only lived in that apartment for that one trip. And it just like, and it was like, I'm so glad that I met you while my mom is still okay. Cause like, I don't know how long she'll be okay. And then also it was like, I feel this real urgency to have kids because I don't know how much longer my mom's going to be around. Um, and then like a month before we got engaged, my mom's disease did morph and then we found out she had to have a transplant, and like it all felt like my mom was like, I feel so bad that like you've always thought that like you're going to lose your I'm like, of course you're going to lose your mom in your early 30s because we both did. And then like we had this scare, but again, she's doing incredibly well. And but it was a big factor in sort of that early part of our relationship that I felt urgency because I thought like I didn't know how long my parents were going to be around. Where like Paige had 3 living grandparents when we started dating at our wedding. Now only one of them still alive, but like the 2 of them, like when our first daughter was born, she had 3 living great grandparents.
Wow.
All on Paige's side, because mine have all been dead for so long.
Wow. And Paige, you were on board with like, yeah, sure. Like let's turbocharge this and get this started.
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely anxiety around it, but yeah, I think it was, Megan's the kind of person who just like, she makes plans and she follows through with them. And I was on for the ride. So yeah, that's how it ended up working out.
It didn't happen that quickly.
And it wasn't right away. Yeah, no, I moved to New York a year later, and then we got engaged
a few weeks
a couple weeks later, and then we got married less than a year later.
Yeah, we were going to get married in summer 2016, but we got married in March so that my mom didn't have to put off her transplant long. And I mean, being the people we were, I think we scheduled a Zoom. Is that true? I feel like I don't know, Zoom, maybe it was something else. We had our first phone call so once we knew we were moving to Chicago and we knew we wanted kids, I reached out. Somehow someone connected me to a friend, to like a guy, a man in the community who's like a OB, Scott something.
Oh yeah.
To reconnect us. I can't remember. Like one of my friends was like, oh, I have a friend who will be like helpful in the fertility stuff. And I had to talk to him, and he was like, and this was like, again, probably like I might have even been like at the Mayo Clinic after my mom's transplant, like being like, oh, we're moving to Chicago soon and we know we're going to want to start this process. And he said to me,
I don't remember any of this, just so you know. She remembers all.
Yeah, but this part is really interesting because I think this is like really relevant. He's like, you have 2 options as a lesbian couple. Like you can like start in the fertility space where you'll be treated like you have a fertility problem immediately, or you can go to an LGBTQ health clinic, which will like be like, of course this is normal, this is what everyone does, and like it won't be treated as pathological. What he didn't tell us, which I maybe wish he did, is like it takes like everyone at the LGBTQ clinic basically ended up going to the fertility clinic eventually to get pregnant. So few people actually get pregnant via like IUI at the fertility clinic, but you actually do need to do that to get insurance to cover it, and it would have been way more expensive to start that in the fertility clinic. So because of that, he connected us to Howard Brown, which is an LGBTQ center in Chicago. And I'm almost positive, and maybe Zoom was around then, I can't remember, that we had some sort of like virtual meeting with the Howard Brown people before we moved to Chicago.
That was right.
And I remember them saying to me, like, it takes an average couple 18 months to get pregnant from like the initial conversation to the like when they actually end up getting pregnant. I was like, that won't be us. Yeah. Like, there's no way. We definitely were longer than that. Like,
yeah, I was gonna say you thought it was gonna be way quicker. You're like, oh, that's way too long.
Yeah, I was like, that's way too long. I have a life plan. I'm like,
right. And we were starting a new essentially organization, right, in Chicago, and so we were about to start on our new jobs in Chicago, and so it was how we needed to get going, and how do you do both of those at the same time?
Right, we didn't want to start immediately, but we did start like peeing on sticks to better understand our cycles.
Yeah, we started checking that,
all that stuff that like you often do sort of early fertility, knowing that we like wanted to, like, we ended up doing, we like had a sense of like we didn't want to have kids. We wanted ideally like our first child would be born like after high holidays of the second year. Like that, rabbis, I'm sure you've talked to people, like rabbis always try to plan their children around the high holidays. And like once you're in fertility troubles, you're like, I can't do this anymore. Like I'm going to have a kid when I can have a kid. And if a kid comes like Rosh Hashanah or like, in the middle of Yom Kippur, like that's what happens.
Yep. Totally. Totally. What was the discussion like? I mean, I'm assuming as the two of you were going through these initial things in order to get yourselves ready, what was the discussion like in terms of like who was going to carry or like what that piece was? And also talk to us about like sperm donation, like, and let me say that differently, sperm donors and how to pick how to pick a sperm donor.
We both, I think, wanted the experience of carrying.
We did. And I remember at one point you were like, I want to go first. And I was like, all right.
In part because of the whole, like, I was feeling more, Paige is 3 months older than me. So, like, the age thing's not really an issue. Like, a real difference, 3 months and 3 days.
Yes. Right.
She's, I turn 41 on Sunday. So we're still in the 3 months and 3 days that she's older than me.
Happy birthday to both of you.
So it was, Megan was feeling more of that pressure around her parents and whether or not they were going to, die earlier. And so I think I just remember being like, okay.
Yeah, you were like, whatever, that's fine.
But because it wasn't so easy, we went back and forth.
Yeah.
Each month, I think it was. No. She'll remember and tell you exactly what happened.
Well, okay. But take me back to what do you mean by it wasn't so easy? What do you mean by that?
Also, the first thing is we knew sperm was going to be expensive. We decided initially when we were at the LGBTQ clinic to like, they gave us, like, there were like a lot of people work with this Midwest sperm bank. It was in Downers Grove. We could like go and pick up the thing of sperm. So we only paid like $400 a pop rather than whatever, ended up being like
1,000 or something,
like 1,200 or something once we like moved. So but they didn't have any Jews. We had a whole long conversation of like, we would love to have beautiful, like multiracial children, but like picking someone based on that felt strange. So we were like, we probably want someone who's like is as similar to us as possible.
We did have a Jew.
No, they didn't have any Jews.
I thought they had two.
And so we ended up choosing like someone who
with Eastern European,
dark hair, like just sort of like looked more like us. And we got vials.
And just so one of the pieces of looking at that was, Megan is full Ashkenazi and I am half Ashkenazi and half French Canadian because my dad converted. And having had the experience with Gift of Life and knowing it's harder to get bone marrow, if God forbid our kid needed it, we wanted to make sure that we had the same type of that was my approach.
That was your approach.
Was
my approach
similar
was
genetic background, just God forbid we needed it. That was kind of where we went with it. But
that's where you went with it.
Go on.
No, I think I was just like, it feels strange to choose an ethnic background that's not our own. So like, let's go with something that's like similar-ish to us.
Yeah.
Yeah. We both did like the J screen.
Mm-hmm.
We spit in a I don't know, they collected saliva.
A tube.
Yeah. And a tube and did like the had them do we did like a consultation and we're like, these are the things that you need to check for in your sperm donors.
Right.
We did all that.
Right.
Just for people who don't know, that we're talking about genetic testing, basically figuring out what things the two of you had so that you wouldn't match up with someone else who had sperm with those things so that God forbid there was a problem with the child.
It wasn't about us and what we share, it was what we might share with the donor. And so like I'm a carrier for familial dysautonomia, which is like a pretty big one. So like all the screeners which search for that. But I think at our second place that we ended up going with, which we'll get to in the story, like we ended up having to ask the donor to do an additional screening for one of the.
He didn't.
Yeah, he didn't, and it wasn't something. It was like might lead to like early hearing loss, which Paige's mother has.
We already have it.
You might already have it too. Either that, or you just tune me out.
Yeah, I do.
So what happened was I was going to go first. I did my first intrauterine insemination in December of 2016. December of 2016. Like right after our favorite, not so favorite person was elected. It was, and I remember because I think I was coming home from Higa from Hillel conference. I told Carrie, I remember, like, I just remember,
Yeah.
and then I went on Birthright. I staffed Birthright.
Okay.
And that was when I found out I was in Israel when I found out, I think I found out I wasn't pregnant. It's like, and I think that was the only time before doing IVF that I ever thought I was pregnant. Like, there was just something, my body really felt different, and I really felt like I was pregnant. Like, I just felt it. I don't know why. Like, I'm still convinced that, like, maybe I had, like, one of those, like, really early.
Yeah.
And who knows?
Chemical, something chemical.
And I remember feeling really sad. And then after that, I was sort of like, I'm probably not going to get pregnant from doing these. And I did like 5 more, right? 4
Right.
more, 5 more. I can't remember. Like
You did-
every month.
You did 6 and I did 4.
Yeah. So I think I did 5 more. And then that was when they're like, okay, you might want to look into like a fertility clinic. I also will say, and like this is partially like for me, so to be like transparent, right? We're transparent here. So intrauterine insemination is what I call a really long pap smear with no lubricant. It is, and especially for, like
For you, it was
for me, it
incredibly
was like
painful.
I was in the worst pain. I like probably broke Paige's fingers. It was like I like just remembering it. Like now I find like going to the gynecologist and getting pap smear like nothing. But I used to find pap smears painful, but this was like 10,000 times worse than a pap smear. And like they had to thread this thing that went on forever. It was horrible. And speaking of like insensitive things people say, which I know you're going to ask, like at some point after or first or second, I can't remember, one of Paige's friends said, like, isn't trying to get pregnant so fun? And I just wanted, and I was like, you mean like when I sit with my legs in stirrups and like they jam metal inside of me? And like, no, nothing is fun about this.
Oh my God.
So I did that 5 times initially before moving on to the fertility clinic, and that's they did the thing where they they put the dye and all, they're trying to figure out what's wrong.
The HSG, the hysterosalpingogram. Yes.
Exactly.
Thank you, doctor.
And
I got to use these things for something, right? The education. Yeah.
One side like might have been a little bit scarry, which we discovered later why, but they said, and it doesn't look like anything seriously wrong. So then they had me do medicated IUI. And then I had done enough, I think, because it had been 6 months, whatever, that I was able to, Illinois does not require, Illinois does require, but I was employed by Hill International. And so based on Hill International, they were not required to provide an option that had fertility coverage.
Okay.
And so I did not have fertility coverage. So we were one of the people who really benefited from the open marketplace, because a friend of mine who worked for Obamacare is what I want to call it, but there's another term for it, obviously, but the open marketplace, she was like, it'll be cheaper for you to buy another insurance than to pay out of pocket.
Okay.
So $450 a month to purchase an insurance that covered, which was way cheaper than
$20,000 a cycle.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Especially when we saw the cost of the meds.
Yeah, we'd get the meds and it'd be like, out of pocket, this would have cost you $14,000. Yeah. So we got a secondary insurance. There was a lot of paperwork. It was incredibly that was the big hiccup. So while we were dealing with all that, that's when Paige decided to start her IUIs. So after I did my medicated IUI, while we were again, figuring out all this, Paige started, and you did
through Howard Brown.
Yeah, so this is now back. So I was at Vios, which has a different name now, but I was at the Chicago fertility clinic at this point. They had done the medicated, and now they were working on all the paperwork to get approved for IVF. And while doing that, Paige started doing IUIs, and that's when
and you both decided to do that to try to increase your chances of getting pregnant quickly, I'm guessing.
Well, we just thought I think it was it might take a while. We just didn't know. And we're if Paige, I think it would have been incredibly painful for me
if
Paige had gotten pregnant during that time period. But we now understood that she needed 6 months of trying to get insurance to cover, and it just felt like it didn't make sense. We knew it was probably going to be a 3 to 4 month delay, and at that point we had been trying for yeah, it felt like it had been a really long time. I think because I don't think it was probably fall of 20 like it was almost a year later.
Yep.
Just I don't think I did all 6 in exact row. Like, and it took a little while. So like by the time we got to that, we were just like, it felt
We wanted a
we
baby.
really wanted a baby,
Right.
and so we're like, it makes sense for you to try, and then
Yeah, and then it was unsuccessful, and then I did 3 and then I went to Vios myself.
and that's when they found your polyps.
Yes, because they didn't know I had polyps, which was a big part of the reason why I couldn't get pregnant.
Okay.
One of them, but I'm sure there were others we didn't know. And so I had polyps removed at that point,
And that's
and then
when
did a medicated IUI
yeah, and then you did a medicated IUI,
unsuccessfully. And that's when you started IVF.
And I think I actually started like doing all the drugs for my retrieval while towards the end of that. Like,
Right. And we ended up then moving to California Cryobank.
Yeah.
Because that's where they recommended at Vios, they recommended that we go use them because that's most of the people that they work with.
They said it was like higher quality sperm, but also with IVF, the sperm you don't need as much.
Right.
So we could,
and there are a lot more Jews available.
Yeah. And that was the fun part because that one had like pictures.
Yeah.
Like that one had like fun descriptions. It was just way more fun. There was almost nothing at the other one. It was like just data.
Yeah.
But this one had like, it was like Facebook. It was like a picture,
Yeah, baby
like
pictures,
a description.
baby
Yeah, baby pictures. And yeah. So we switched to that. And then I did a retrieval. And then we didn't go right immediately into the transfer. We waited a month for the transfer.
Yep.
This is now spring of 2018.
Okay.
So again, we did the first IUI in, winter, like in December of 2016. And so this is basically a year and a half later.
Okay.
We did the first IVF transfer, and I got pregnant. And, you get the phone call that you're pregnant, and then 2 days, and then they're checking you every 48 hours. And so 48 hours later is the, like, your numbers aren't doubling.
God.
So
But Megan had this like sense that the first the first time she got pregnant, it wasn't going.
I think I just was like, I'm definitely going to have a miscarriage at some point. I don't know. I just had.
And so it wasn't, so we didn't get super, super excited.
No,
we would do anyway because we had been through such a process. We were excited when we first found out you were pregnant.
Yeah.
And then it was like okay, we're
right. I think we weren't devastated. I think the hard part was it took my body a really long time to figure out what was going on. So the numbers were going up, but they weren't going up as much as they thought. And then we went to your parents for Passover, and I was still pregnant.
Yeah.
And I was still having to do like IVF. There's so many shots and drugs and drugs.
Yes.
And they wouldn't let me stop doing those on the off chance that the pregnancy was still good. And I'm like, I feel horrible. There's no way this and then it was my best friend's bachelorette party. All these things were happening, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm in the midst of a very long miscarriage that they can't be sure of. And then finally I went in and they did an ultrasound, and it looked like something was happening in my fallopian tubes.
Right, it thought it was an ectopic pregnancy.
Gosh.
I had to get they were you have to go have surgery immediately because
right.
And they removed the fallopian tube
and never found it.
Hi, everyone. It's Amy. I just wanted to take a quick moment to say that if talking away the taboo means something to you, if you've listened to an episode and felt less alone, more seen, or more understood, please support us so we can continue doing this important work. Everything we offer, this podcast, our support groups, our resources, all of them are completely free. And that's intentional, actually, because we never want someone to have to choose between getting help and affording it. But truthfully, we can't do this without your help. So if you're in a position to give even just a little, it really helps keep us going. It helps someone else find the support that they need to. So please donate at iwassupposedtohaveababy.org/donate. It's really easy and it really makes a difference. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being part of this community.
And they never found it. So then they were like, the numbers still haven't gone down. There's a chance it's still there. It was like,
It's like such a nightmare. Like they're like, oh, it's this and it's not. Oh, it's this and it's not. Like,
And then
and also, I mean, I had a similar kind of medical mystery situation at one point during my journey. And it was like, not only do you not have a baby, but you're also like, you can't move on. So you're like stuck in this limbo period of like, what's happening? And like, you don't really know what's happening.
that's when we planned a trip to Greece. That was our last
That's right.
vacation.
That's when we planned it. Yeah.
We planned a trip to Greece when we went to Greece.
No, that was right. Greece was when we found out you were pregnant.
Right. So we planned a trip to Greece for that July.
Okay.
By the time I was recovered, we were able to do another transfer the
Right
very end of
after-
June, right after the wedding of that couple, which was also really intense because her father passed away 5 days before the wedding.
Right.
That was just like, that whole thing was
And then our plane was delayed, and so she needed to get our plane was delayed getting back from the wedding, and she ended up getting in a lift and went to the clinic to do
the transfer because they had
whoa.
crossed the egg in a certain amount of time.
Right.
Day, so we were going straight to the clinic because we were like leaving for Greece. I can't remember why. They only did transfers like Mondays and Thursdays, and we were going to be in Greece by Thursday. So Paige went and got our luggage, and I like hopped into a lift.
Got off the plane, was like, oh, you gotta let me go. She like ran in front of everyone.
Yeah,
I gotta go check the baby.
Go get pregnant.
Oh my God, that's so great.
Yeah, and then
we were in Greece.
And then we were in Greece when I took the pregnancy test.
Yep. And then she started getting sick immediately.
And then I started getting sick immediately. But like, it was great. The fertility clinic, like I was like texting with the nurse. They were like from Greece. They were amazing. Yeah, I started feeling sick like almost immediately, and I was sick every single day for 9 months. If we had to do it again, I think with all the knowledge we had, Paige would have carried both, but used my egg for one of them. Like now that we know what our pregnancies were like, but we wouldn't have done.
Okay, so now I'm going to move you forward and say, I'm guessing that Paige, when the two of you were thinking about having your second child, then you were the one who carried.
Well, also for Paige, one of the smartest things we did was because of the way insurance and everything worked, Paige actually made her embryos while I was pregnant.
Okay.
So Bree was born in March, and in January is when I had my retrieval. And so I was going through, as she's pregnant and sick, I'm going through all the shots.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
But it was so much better than doing it with a kid, because when we were ready for another one, you were like
I had started Bree was born. I left my job in June, and then I started a new job
in March.
And we waited to get pregnant because I was waiting to get time off.
Well, it was that, but also it was COVID, and I also had really bad postpartum depression for a while. So like it took a while for me to be ready to like think about having another kid. But in the end, what was sort of wild is Rory, our second daughter, was Paige's first transfer. So like it happened. Like our kids are 2 years and 2 months apart because like I don't think I think we assumed it wouldn't take for that long because Paige had already done all the things so that we could do IVF. Like
because I got polyps removed again before the transfer twice. So right before that is when I got my polyps removed again.
Right.
And because we had the support from the fertility clinic, they knew they were able to like check. They were able to see, oh, okay, we need to do this to be able to make sure that you can get.
And we already had the insurance. Like you had done the IUIs to get us to the point where IVF would be covered on insurance. So there were all these that made it. So that we in some ways it was, I think like we were this couple going through infertility stuff like for so long, and then like from the minute we got pregnant with our first kid, we never were because it was so quick. Where I think there's often couples like like different people in our lives who like they get pregnant really quickly with their first kid, and then their fertility challenges come after. Like we were sort of like all of our fertility, like there were no like it was just, yeah.
And it was interesting because being in Chicago, there weren't a lot of queer couples around us. We didn't have that many friends. And now that we're friends that were queer, and now that we're in Philadelphia, we all talk about our experience
all the time. Yeah.
It's like
a lot of our friends,
because you have many couples or people in your community that have been through or are going through.
Well, they're queer. Most of our friends our queer friends they've gone through a similar experience to us, whether the amount of time but we also have a couple friends who are going through their own fertility journeys.
Straight and queer.
Yep, straight and queer. We talk about dibblings. So dibblings are the donor siblings.
I love that. And I've actually never heard that term before, so I love that. Just say like dibblings meaning what? Tell people.
Yeah, so donor siblings. So other folks who have used the same sperm donor as us. Our sperm donor is anonymous. It could be someone who's known or anonymous. But we are on a Facebook group of which I think there are 10 between 8
there's like 10
families.
Kids maybe, but like 7 or 8 families.
All who have the same donor sperm, and very few of them look alike. There's like one kid who looks like Brie, but everyone else looks like the parent who birthed them. Yes. It's amazing. And so we actually met a couple. Met them last year.
And they did look a little bit alike, and I felt more connected to these two children than I've ever felt to random kids. It was like they climbed all over us. They were just like,
it was really sweet.
It felt like it was very cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, because we now have all these queer friends, right? There's like some of our friends have known donors. Some of our friends, like our favorite babysitter, her brother is one of our friends' donors.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
We have friends who like, like my childhood best friend, her kids are dibblings with other people in our community.
Yep.
So like, this is just, it's totally normal of like, oh, did you both carry? Especially like a lot of our friends who like one of the people who have a uterus is non-binary. Like usually in that case, often doesn't carry.
With our friends,
we have friends where they both carried, but like the kids were created in the IVF cycle. Like the kids are basically identical.
Yeah,
twins.
right.
But none of this is taboo because like none of us, because again, it's just like no one had sex and then we're pregnant and had kids.
Everybody had to do something in order to be able to have their family. So therefore, everybody's talking about it, which leads me into my next question. How old are your kids now?
4 and 6.
Yeah. 4 and 6. Okay. What do because of your story, because the two of you are so open about it, and because they're surrounded by people who have also had journeys, what do you tell them about the way they were made? What do they know? What are they taking with them?
I mean, there's great books out there.
Yeah.
They don't like love them. They're never the ones they choose to read, but we have them like all about like, what does it take to make a baby? You need a womb, and you need an egg, and you need a sperm, and you need love. And, we have, but they know that.
Yeah, we started those books early with them, and they know the language. They understand what the language is around sperm and egg. And, what do I don't know. I think because there are a lot of queer families here, especially in our 4-year-olds class. I think half the class has queer families. Yeah. Queer. It's just like it's so normal to them. Not as much in the kindergarten for Brie. There's one couple, but one other kid.
I don't think they like. There are certain things like having a dad, but like I think it's more like the stuff that we talk about much more than like where their sperm comes from is like they know we each carried them and they look like one of us. Like we call Brie, sometimes we call her mini me. Like what was it?
She called herself today.
Yeah, what was it that she wanted? Because I was getting to eat something. I don't remember what it was.
She wanted a cake for your birthday.
Oh yeah, she's like my birthday. She's like, oh well, because I'm mini mommy, can't I have a cake? Like, or he's like, well, I'm mini mama, and we do call her sometimes mini dode uncle because she looks even like my brother than she does like me, and so I do think like something we spend a lot of energy on is like how do we make sure they don't feel more related to one of us and one of our families because they are biologically each related to one of us, much more than like what the sperm is. Like that we talk much more like, oh, I was in your belly. So I don't Yeah. We don't hide any of it and we talk about it in front of them, but they don't seem bothered by that. They don't seem bothered by any
They
of
don't
it.
feel different than other kids.
No.
I don't know. They love having two moms.
Yeah.
So great.
Yeah.
It's so great. Tell me about, like, how does your Jewish identity, how does community, I mean, you talk about like their schools, like, I don't know how many of like your like queer community, how many of those are Jewish versus non-Jewish, but just in the Jewish community at large, or even your families, like what did people say? How supportive or not supportive were they in terms of like going on this journey, having kids? Like, talk to me a little bit about that.
I mean, our parents wanted grandchildren, even if they say they didn't. They weren't like pressuring us. But that was never it was like when I first came out to my Nana, one of the things she said to me, she's 94 now. This was 20 something years ago. She said, number one, what did I do to right? She blamed herself. And then she said, are you going to be able to have kids? And so when we were able to squelch that, and my cousin is gay, and so he was very helpful with that. And he's a lot older than us. He's like 60 something. If he's younger than that, I'm sorry, cousin Mark. No, he is, because he's almost from my mom's age. He that was like the only piece where I was ever like, oh, is someone questioning it? Not because they don't agree. My Nana wanted grandbabies. Right. But it was never with our Jewish. Everything we do is Jewish. We host Jewishly. We live Jewishly. It is not a thing that has impacted our journey.
I think it's the sort of the opposite, the flip of what you're saying, which is like, I think if we hadn't had kids, it would be very, very hard. I think, I mean, it's different for like my brother and his boyfriend, who are like gay men who want to live a different life, but like, it is incredibly hard to be in your early 40s in Jewish community and not have kids. Like, all of our friends are from the preschool, which is from the synagogue. It is so easy to make, like, so both of our parents love being grandparents and love our children, but I think my mom has this very strong sense of like, she doesn't want to prioritize my choices over my brother's choices. And so she's very big on like, I love your kids, but like, it would have been fine if you didn't have kids, because otherwise it wouldn't be fine that my brother doesn't. So that's really important. And so she'll sort of say it, I don't know, like jokingly, but like, we're the boring queer couple. Like, we are married and we have 2 children and we host Shabbat dinner every Friday. And, we have it, we look like a straight couple in the way we live our lives in lots of ways. And like, my brother, on the other hand, like, is living, a much more like, he's young and he's out and he's having fun and going to drag shows and, and not that any of those are better or worse choices, but like, and also even a lot of our friends who are like very much more queer than us, like in the sense that like we are both cisgender women, like they also are like boring like us. Like, Mount Airy is like the like lesbian mecca, like whatever. It's like everyone is like queer couples. I mean, I'm sure some of them are more poly than we know. We don't, talk about that, but like with children who like are just hanging out at the playground.
Right. Or queer and single parents by choice who are having that experience too. Right. It is very much Mount Airy. It's its own little
bubble. Yeah.
Bubble.
But I think we're like, especially because I work with 20s and 30s, like I'm super aware of how the Jewish community makes it really hard to be childless. And so I think like, I feel sometimes to be like totally honest, hopefully our kids will never watch. It's like, there are days that I'm like, my life is a lot harder than my brother's, or like a lot harder than, having kids is really hard, not just the making of them, but the raising of them and the life. But like the life we lead would be really hard without kids, because it is very much a life that revolves around
a defining space. It defines the relationships we've built over time. Our relationships would be different with the people around us.
Yeah,
we probably wouldn't be living in Mount Airy because it's very family friendly. Yeah, it would be different.
Yeah, and I think like we both feel, I think strongly that we want to try to make space for folks in our community who don't have kids, whether they're single or couples who have chosen not to, or couples who can't, with an awareness that like it's really a growing edge is a kind way of putting it, I think, for the Jewish community.
Yeah, look, I mean, the reality is that we are a people that values family, right? We value children, we value family, and if you are not that for whatever reason, there is definitely a divide. And then the question is how to make people feel included, make people feel safe, make people feel warm and welcome, regardless of, whether they have children or not.
You don't need children to be a family. You can be a family without a child. You can be a
100%.
In our neighborhood, there are a number I'm thinking about like Michelle with Tani and Eitan, like Tani and Bina, there are families who like adopt other people. Like we're like, you don't have kids, but you want to be really heavily involved with kids. Like, sure, be in our family. We could use that because like, I have a good friend who's also a rabbi, and we talk about like, she will not sure if she's going to have kids. She's partnered, and she's like, if I don't have kids, I want to make sure I'm really close with young people because like I know I'm going to need them later in life, and like I also know the people who my friends need the help, and like so I think we need to just be much better at building supportive communities, regardless of people's like status in that way, and not define family by like whether you have a biological child or not.
I love that. I love that.
Or even but any child, like a child that like lives in your household who like you can claim as tax exempt on your taxes.
Yes. And go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'm just thinking about like as we're winding down here, I'm wondering, what you say to people, because as someone who's in a position of authority, right? You're the rabbi and you're the rabbi's wife, and you run this organization, and you are role models for people who are in their 20s and 30s, and people who are thinking about the next stage of life. I mean, okay, you're the boring couple, fine, but I mean, your journey was not without difficulty. And what do you tell people who are thinking about this, or thinking like, oh, I wonder if I could ever do this. I wonder if this is possible. Like, what do you tell people about how it is possible, and the advice that you give them?
So I'll share. I work with teens in my everyday life. I work for Moving Traditions. I'm the director of the.
So are you wearing the sweatshirt?
I'm wearing a sweatshirt.
Always,
right?
she's always.
I love this sweatshirt. I'm the director of Kokolenu, the Meyer Gottesman Kokolenu Teen Feminist Fellowship, and so I work with. It's a big title. I work with teens all across the United States who are focusing on feminism, activism, and Judaism. A lot of the teens that participate are queer. It just happens to be. They're not all, but a good number of them are. And so when they see me and they see my kids on a call, they see other folks that I work with, whether they're straight or gay or whatever, right? They see us all living our lives where our kids might show up on a call with them. They might see folks who have roommates that just like, because they're younger, they have their friends and they're not married, or they're single, whatever it is. And I say to them, ask me whatever questions you want. I'm an open book. But I also want you to know you're a teenager. You don't need to think about this right now, but I want them to know that like I've been through journeys if they want to talk about it. And I think that's really the way that Megan and I have lived this life in general, is being an open book, being
transparent. Yeah.
Transparent in our entire journey. Megan is definitely transparent about having been very sick during her pregnancy, and I was never that sick. She wants to make sure everyone knows that. And that.
But about all of it, like I think I mentioned this on our call. Like,
yeah,
I had my fallopian tube removed, and I came home, and like I had a class the next day that I was teaching, and like, or maybe it was 2 days later. I can't remember. I think the surgery was Monday, and it was Wednesday, and people were worried about me because like the surgery's painful. It's a major surgery.
Yeah,
even though it was laparoscopic, it was very painful, and so people were worried. So I was honest.
I'm sitting on this couch.
I can't get up right now. I still wanted to teach whatever class it was, Jewish Learning Fellowship or something. And, and no, I don't, I think people jump to the worst conclusions. It's like, no, I had a fallopian tube removed because I had a miscarriage this week. And like, for sure, people knew I would leave Shabbat dinner to vomit.
Yep.
And every other class I ever taught to vomit.
But they also see that that parenting can be very hard too. So they
Yeah,
can
so that's what I was
be
gonna.
at our meals.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
No, so I was gonna say, like, I think now I work with couples a ton. Like, I run a couples cohort, like a couple times a year, and so like I think I try to drop snippets of all of this in so people know that I'm someone they can talk to about these things. But I also, yeah, I talk really transparently about how hard parenting is. Um, and I do a lot of premarital counseling and a lot of weddings also. And I would say, like, when couples are like, I'm not sure I want to have kids, I'm like, no one have kids because they think they're supposed to. Like, so I think that's like a big thing is like, we need to build a Jewish community that's going to work for people who don't have kids. People should not have kids because they think it's what they're supposed to do. And like, if you're not sure, or like one person is sure and one person's really doesn't want, like, you have to really, like, it is not going to work. It's too hard if it's not something you really want. So I'd say like that's one piece. And then the other piece I say, and like, is like, if having a kid is your top priority, like, there will be a way that you will have kids. Like, the people I know who have decided ultimately after long fertility journeys not to, it's because they're just too emotionally tired to like go from trying a really long time to get pregnant to then like entering an adoption process. And like, it's devastating when that happens, but like, if it is still what you most want, like, there are lots of different ways. And so I try to say to people, like, I think I used to say to people, like, everyone, like, almost, like, I think everyone I knew who like really, really, really wanted to have kids eventually found a way to. I now have a friend who, like, she and her husband just decided after many, many years, like, they weren't going to, I think adoption's also gotten a lot harder than it 10, 15 years ago. And so that used to be a backup, and it's not a good backup for people. But like, if having a child is the most important thing to you, like, you will find a way to do that. But people's priorities change over time. Yeah.
100%. 100%. I think, there's so much wisdom in what both of you just shared, that the fact that people know that they can come to you and you will share the good, the bad, the ugly, and like, yes, this is possible. And this is also hard. So be aware that like there's a lot that's going to go into it. It's not just as simple as like, oh, we had a fun night and like we just had sex. Like, there is a lot to this. And also, even when you get to the other side, parenting is also not so simple. Yeah.
Yeah.
I so much appreciate that.
I think this is one last thing, is like something we're trying to do, and actually we're trying to plan an event for this for Tribe 12, is like making sure we have models for people who have had really good lives without kids. Like, I want to make sure my young people see models of people who've had kids different ways, but also people who have had like strong Jewish existences without children. And I think that we just like have to keep growing that, because especially with what's happening in the world right now, whether it's politically or climate change, like, more and more people are going to probably decide not to have kids. And, we can't, our Jewish community will be deeply disserved by not making a place for them.
1,000%. We need to make places for everyone. Everyone. Absolutely. Okay. Last parting words. I mean, maybe those were your last parting words, but opening it up to last thoughts to anyone out there who is thinking about struggling, not thinking about it, whatever it is, last parting words or something we didn't cover. I'm here for it. And maybe Paige also, maybe you need to also share your challah recipe. We're going to have a discussion about that, because by the way, peoples, Paige is a master challah maker. I'm going to let her. Okay. Hold on. Are you here? Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, I think we had that silence for a second again, because your timer is telling you you've been on social media for too long.
Paige, instead of sharing her challah recipe, is going to share the way that challah. So, we're very big on like the ways that things intersect. So Paige is going to share how challah baking intersects with reproductive rights.
Are you?
No, you are. You said it.
Well, no. So I am the Mount Airy Challah Fairy. It is my title here, and I bake challah and raise money for a local charity. And one of the ideas was, I just make regular challah. One of the ideas that Megan had was I should make my uterus challah, which I make every year.
Wow.
For just a Shabbat dinner.
Reproductive rights Shabbat.
For reproductive rights Shabbat.
Repro Shabbos. Yeah.
Exactly. So Megan's idea was, why don't you make them and sell them for $36, and all the money went to National Council of Jewish Women.
And we have really good friends who are like we're very proud that we have non-Jewish friends. We have really close, some of our close friends who aren't Jewish bought one.
Yeah.
And we're having a party that night and they served the uterus.
And it was just
like
sitting
at the party, like this is uterus.
And there were like 2 Jews in the whole place besides us.
Great.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah. So it's I haven't actually really, I could probably write a pretty good article about, the connection between making challah, why I make challah, and the, creating 2 beautiful children together. Haven't done that yet, but it is a very important thing to me. And I'm grateful to be able to serve our community with delicious challah. But I'm happy to, if anyone wants my challah recipe.
It's your best friend.
Always. It's my best friend's, but I've changed it a bit because it's my best friend's mom's best friend, something like that. Thanks, Chip.
Okay, so first of all, so number 1, I mean, we're going to have to talk about the recipe, yes. But number 2, I'd love for you, if you can share with me at least a picture of your uterus challah so that we can share it also with the I Was Supposed to Have a Baby community.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. And I'm so grateful. Megan, any last words from you?
No, I appreciate that you guys are doing this work. And I think, and connecting, I think the more people can share, no one should share more than they feel comfortable doing. But I think we are better when we can share what's hard, because then we create, more safer, more open communities.
1,000%. And I deeply appreciate also, I mean, you and I, both of you and I were having this conversation years past your fertility journey, but the 2 of you were open even as you were going through things. And it takes a lot for people to share in the moment. Many times people, and I'm including myself in that, like people are happy to share after everything is done because they've processed that it's not so raw anymore to share really when you're in the moment and it's still very much like a very big part of your life and still very raw is really to another level. And I really just want to real kudos to the 2 of you and for doing this, continuing to do this work now. I'm deeply appreciative.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good.
So to all of you out there, this episode, we're going to have, both of their bios. We'll have some pictures of challah, possibly even a recipe. We'll discuss if we can get the rights to that also.
Sure.
I'm just deeply grateful to the 2 of you. This is being recorded, and hopefully when technology works, the plan is for this also to be put up onto our podcast, Talking Away the Taboo. My guess is it'll probably go up next week or the week after. So for anyone out there who only got a chance to listen to a piece of this or wants to listen to the whole thing, you and I will talk afterwards, and we'll be able to share the link to all the people who want it.
That being one.
Exactly. And also we'll be tagging everyone and in case anyone in the audience would like to be in touch with Rabbi Megan or with Paige, I know they would love to speak to you.
Thank you so much for listening. If you have any comments about this episode or would like to suggest a future episode, please reach out at 917-382-0422 or send us an email at info@iwassupposedtohaveababy.org or info@iwsthab.org. And please don't forget to like, rate, and review so we can continue spreading the support to the wider Jewish community.